Hey guys, welcome back to the SAE podcast. I'm Tirth,
And I'm Sushant.
and in these next 20 minutes, we'll understand what was, what is, and what will be the Indian car modding culture. I'd like to start off with the history of car modding. Can you paint a picture for what was Indian car modding in the early 80s and 90s? What were the challenges, and what were people trying to achieve back then?
Okay, so back then, modding wasn't all about big turbos and wide body kits like we see now. It was more about personalization and standing out. You'd see people adding custom paint jobs, rally stripes, wooden steering wheels, spotlights, and aftermarket alloys. And the biggest challenge back then was access. Parts weren't easily available, so enthusiasts relied on jugaad, local fabrication, or importing parts at very high cost. Most people weren't trying to make their ambassadors, Fiats, and early Marutis look sportier, but they were trying to make them look sportier rather than having performance.
Right. So, speaking of personalization, how has the internet and the social media changed the game? Has it democratized car modding? Has it made it more accessible? Or has it made more obstacles?
Well, the internet changed everything for sure. Suddenly, the enthusiasts could see global builds on forums and Instagram and YouTube. It democratized knowledge, DIY tutorials, tuning guides, and even access to sellers. But it also brought challenges like copy paste builds, unrealistic expectations while seeing other people's builds, and the pressure to show off viral mods rather than meaningful craftsmanship.
Right. Uh, let's talk about the cars. What makes certain cars, such as the Maruti Swift or the old Honda City, so popular for modding? Because we see them every often now and then. What are some qualities that they have that make them a good platform for enthusiasts?
Well, cult favorites like the Swift or the Honda City have struck right balance because of their affordability, lightweight, and their fun to drive, and with engines that respond very well to tuning. The Swift has always been seen as youthful and customizable, while the old City Type 2, with its VTEC engine, became legendary because of its performance potential. These cars had large aftermarket ecosystems, body kits, ECU maps, and suspension upgrades, which made them natural platforms.
But okay, now we talked about cars, but what are the most common types of mods you see in India? Like, is it more lean towards performance, or are the is the Indian audience lean towards aesthetic?
It's mostly towards the aesthetics. We see mostly alloys, exhausts, lights, body kits, audio systems. Indians love their audio, but we also do see performance. We see better handling, quicker acceleration. But honestly, in India, modding is often about identity. The car becomes an extension of who you are, whether it's flashy, sporty, or practical but unique.
Speaking of performance upgrades, what are some common legal misunderstandings about car modding in India? Because I've heard people chatter about what's legal, what's illegal. From a community perspective, what is considered safe or legal?
Okay, so the biggest one. People assume all modifications are illegal. That's just not true. Cosmetic mods like alloys and wraps are usually fine. What authorities crack down on are structural changes, engine swaps without RTO approval, or things that affect safety, like oversized exhaust or tinted windows. From the community's view, the challenge is inconsistency. Rules vary across states, with it being more lax in Kerala and very stringent in places like Delhi. And enforcement is unpredictable.
Right. Since we are evolving forward in in the sector of automobiles, what do you think are the biggest challenges or opportunities of car modding with the advent of electric vehicles?
Okay, so the challenge is that EVs are software heavy. So tuning them isn't as simple as swapping a muffler or an air filter, but the opportunity is huge. Custom software maps, unique aero kits, lightweighting, and even sound simulation. EVs also open the door to new age creativity. Imagine like custom battery packs or aesthetic mods that play into futuristic themes, like the Back to the Future DMC. If you created that in an EV format, would look crazy.
I agree. I agree. So I want to know, what do you think the Indian car modding scene will be in, let's say, 5 years from now? What would you like to see, and what do you think you will see?
Okay, so what I hope for, my biggest hope is acceptance. A culture where authorities, OEMs, and enthusiasts work together instead of in conflict. More recognition that modding is an art form, more legal pathways for enthusiasts, and maybe even official tracks or spaces where modified cars can be showcased and driven safely. That's my biggest hope.
Uh, sure. Since you mentioned about Jugaad, Indian car modding has often been termed as Jugaad rather than genuine craftsmanship. How do you see this unique Indian approach in in the car modding culture compared to the West?
Okay, so Indian modding, it's at the crossroads of jugaad and artistry. On one hand, we've got budget friendly, street smart solutions that keep the scene alive. On the other, there are fabricators and tuners pushing world class standards. That this mix is what makes India unique. You'll find a home built turbo setup next to a perfectly imported air suspension kit on the same street. That's how crazy it is.
I agree with you. And since the car modding culture is expanding in India, car meets and auto expos are becoming more and more common. How important are these, community gatherings in shaping trends and building a, identity among enthusiasts?
Well, it's 100% the heartbeat of the culture. That's where people learn, share, and get inspired. More than showing off builds, it creates belonging. A Swift with a clean wrap can park next to a Supra, and both owners bond over passion. Trends spread as at these gatherings, and young enthusiasts often catch their first spark here.
Right. So we've understood the history, what the current scene is, and what are the opportunities in the future. But I'd like to end this with a final question that I have, is that we as Indians largely take influence from the West. So the international influence is undeniable, such as JDM, Euro, American muscle. So, how much of India's modding culture is actually inspired by these global trends, or will be inspired by these global trends, and how much of it is actually uniquely Indian?
Okay, so India borrows heavily from JDM and Euro trends, like stance cultures, clean body kits, tuning styles, rather than American muscle going for high acceleration and high speed. But there's a unique Indian flavor, the blend of jugaad, a budget innovation, and local car choices like the Swift and the Honda City. A modified Alto with a rally light setup or a fully decked out Bolero pickup are things you'll rarely see anywhere else.
Uh, right,
And
right.
wait, there's even Tarzan the Wonder Car, that one movie that started it all for me. That movie inspired me. That car was actually an Alto 800, if I'm not wrong, and they modified it into that beautiful machine.
In India, I've often seen cars on the road modded, but I've never seen like an official cult or a culture group who mods, together, or a specific type of modding which all people follow. I'm not sure if there isn't, and if there is, could you give me an example? And if there isn't, what is something you would like to see?
Okay, so from my personal perspective, from what I've seen, I'm from Kerala, so we're often called mod zone country because of how lax our government is when it comes to modding. They are more accepting when it comes to it. And a common type I've seen is off-road modding. They create their off-road cars, like let's say the Bolero. They convert it into a heavy off-road vehicle, and this has been crazy. Like recently, we were hit with the floods, and the off-road modding scene all came to help the flood relief victims. It was genuinely out of this world. The amount of hard work and craftsmanship that goes into these cars is crazy. And personally, I've also seen like many events also start to come up with themes that go with it. So recently, Vip Mantra had an event happening. I don't know where, or Ahmedabad, if I'm not wrong. They had an event for off-road, not off-road, sorry, uh, imported cars to come and showcase them. And it was genuinely a really good event. I saw a lot of Instagram reels about it, and it was great.
Okay. And what is one thing that you would like to see, like a common Indian modding, what do you say? A common Indian mod which can be, globally recognized.
A common Indian mod that can be globally recognized. So, uh, if I had to choose one, all those old Indian cars that we have, like the Ambassadors and the
Yeah, yeah.
Fiats. I'd want to see kits of those. So, a lot of American cars have retrofits. So, like they take the Impala and then convert it into the 1950s one. So similarly, I want to see the direct opposite of that. I want to see an ambassador brought to the future. That's what I want to see.
Okay.
What about you,
So,
Tirth? What would you like to see?
see, most American muscle cars I've seen follow the American culture. You've seen cars ride around with the American flag. What I would like to see is, the traditional Indian art and Indian culture on the cars moving around, complementing the history that we have as a country. That would be something
Uh,
really unique to see. Yeah. Other than that, what I want to know is, uh, assume I'm a 21-year-old talking to you who just ended college and I don't have a car. I use my dad's car and I think it's not for me. Like it feels slow. So I wanna upgrade it. I wanna mod it. I wanna performance upgrade it. But Indian parents are usually very orthodox about these things. Yeah.
yes.
So what do you think are the misconceptions that those parents have that can be cleared so that someone like me can, actually go out and experience car modding?
Okay, so if you're a 21-year-old that just passed out of college and is using their parents' car, uh, so for Indians specifically, the car is like a member of the family. It is like that one thing that no parent or no family member wants to like get rid of. It's very hard to get an Indian to sell their car. But to like the misconceptions that happen is like, okay, if you mod the car, something goes wrong, and then the service center will take hell lot of money from me. That is a common misconception. You can actually take it to trusted people that actually know what they're doing, rather than doing it on your own. Or you could go with them. Like in the past, my father and another owner of a garage modded his Hyundai Xantro for him, and it was crazy. They built that car to build a to beat a Mini Cooper S on the street. Yeah. And other things that you can do is, well, convincing them. But I don't suggest it because, well, insurances are pretty strict when it comes to modding. So having an insurance policy that matches what you want to do is always imperative.
Okay. One question that I do have is, let's say I have a car, a beat up car, an old car. I can, according to the new scrap policy, I get great benefits when I actually scrap the car to the government. But I also have the option to repair and mod the car like the way I want it. Do you think it is worth in the Indian audience to actually spend that money to mod a car instead of just taking the benefits that government has for us.
100%. It is worth modding that car because it's not just the monetary benefit, it's also the emotional value that that car holds. That car has been with you, let's assume, for the last 10 years, and it's been through so much. Like, let's say it was the first, you took your first drive with your friends in that car. You went for your first date in that car. It's all been around with that car. That car has been your best friend through all of this. For me personally, if I had that choice, I would spend that money to mod that car. That car is worth way more than whatever benefit that the government gives me. And mods that can go into it, it could be basic mods. It could be basic like performances and like fixing it up. It's all just what you want to do, what you want to see in that car.
Speaking from the money perspective again, I'm back to being a 21-year-old who just graduated out of college. So I
Okay.
practically have no money to mod my car completely, like change the engine, exhaust, or the looks of it. I have some spare money. What do you think for an approximate budget of let's say 50,000 someone can get, or is it even possible to do mods at a small budget?
It is obviously possible to do a mods at a small budget. The Indian market is built around doing jugaad and like finding budget friendly options. So for a budget of 50,000, that's practically enough. You could get any sporty feel, any aesthetic mods can be done. And even some minimal performance upgrades can also be done. But mostly I would suggest waiting on the performance upgrades for proper licensed parts rather than Indian jugaad. But 100% aesthetics, go ahead, go do what you like. It's crazy. Whatever makes you feel like that car is the car I love, just do it. It's crazy.
And one more question I had was, you see in the US and the Europe, there are different types of fuel. There's premium fuel, there's economy fuel, and all that. In India, we only have petrol and diesel. There's no such variation. Let's say I import a certain type of upgrade for my engine and mod it. How do I actually get it running, and how do I know if it's safe to use that petrol?
Okay, that is actually a really good question. Okay, so it's practically based on the manufacturer. The manufacturer will send you like what all fuels can that engine take, and practically understanding what fuel it can take will be the determinant on if this car is street legal or if this car can run with the fuel you are going to provide it. I am not very well versed with this, but from what I understand, you have to get that list and you have to understand that whether the fuel supplied by India, the fuel that you get in India, can make this engine run.